Oh my goodness, am I late? Welcome. It's gonna be, excuse me. It's gonna be an interesting one. Because I feel like I got a lot to say. I feel like stuff you gonna have to say. It's gonna make me have a lot to say, which is gonna make you have a lot to say if you catch my drift. So stay tuned, we're gonna get into it, y'all. You do not want to miss this. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the block, the Leon block, that is. I hope you are well. I hope you are loved. If not, if you don't feel loved, I love you. So let's go ahead and get into it. I've got a guest today, a local guest from here in Lancaster. He is running for city council of Lancaster City. Welcome to the Leon block, Tony Dastra, right?
Whoa. Listen, you got the wrong Dastra. Joey Dastra.
Oh my God, I get all so mixed up.
You're not the only one. And it's funny because it's not like it's just me and Tony. There are a few other of us.
So hold on, break it down for me. How many of y'all is there?
So there's me, Tony, our oldest brother Vinny, our little brother Dominic, who's up in Maine with my mom and my stepdad. But then also I have 3 stepbrothers, 2 from my stepmom, 1 from my stepdad, and 2 half brothers from my stepmom and my dad. Yeah, so there's quite a few Dastra or Dastra adjacent family members running around.
That's wow. Okay. So no wonder you said whoa.
Yeah,
like, okay. Yeah, no, I fuck with it. I definitely can appreciate that. I just want to jump into it really quick because we were in the midst of a conversation about food deserts, and it was sparked by shout out to, and what's going on, cuz I love you too. Shout out to my cousin Samira Woods. I believe up in Wilkes-Barre, here in Pennsylvania. I want to talk about a group called Garden. You can find them on Facebook. Shout out to Garden. Here in Lancaster City, they are trying to tackle the issue of food deserts, and I really think that it's something that we need more of. I think it's something that, at least for the community that I'm in, is a really huge issue. I mean, I can go to the bodega up the street. I can get beef patties. I can get a sub. I can get some bananas and, necessities, but the shit's overpriced and it shouldn't have to be that way. And then if I need to, I have to walk 10 blocks to go to the grocery store, but I'm able-bodied and can very well do it. You know what I mean? I also don't have kids. There's a lot of things that factor into why I'm able to go and get those groceries so easily. And even then, I still have to use a cart because I don't have a car. So it's gauged off of how much I can carry at one time as well. So if I have these slight challenges, I just wonder how many other people have bigger challenges.
Right. And I mean, see, I love that you mentioned you having to walk to get your groceries because just for the people who are listening, there's no video, but if you can't tell, I'm a white dude. I do come from a place of some privilege.
Right.
So when you talk about going to walk to get your groceries, that's a struggle, it seems like.
Yes. Yes.
I used to work at a grocery store. I stopped working at a grocery store a few months ago, and ever since then, I've only been walking to get my groceries. And from a certain extent, that's really nice for me because I feel like it's like a 5-minute walk from my house, which is a very nice thing for me. And again, it's gauged off of how much I can carry. And so I don't waste my money. I just go get what I can carry, especially mostly produce, and I bring it home.
Can I add another element to this real quick?
Of course.
Because you pointed something out. You're white, and you acknowledge your privilege. And for people that acknowledge that they hold some trait of colonization, if you will, it's kind of like, to me, from my perspective and outside looking in, it looks like it's like, not you specifically, but like it's a notch on the belt of like grittiness, or like some sort of like, okay, well, I can struggle. I'm a struggler too. Like I've been through it too. Do you know what I mean? And it makes it like, okay, well, you have the luxury to be able to do that. But what about the other people who were here and always been here? Because I'm not from here either. Not saying that you're not, but I'm not from this community. You know what I mean? To say like, well, I don't have that luxury. I'm always faced with this bullshit. Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you say about that?
I mean, generally speaking, you know, I think it's been something that's changed over my life because I was raised in an environment where it's not like we were any sort of like conservative household, but it's not like my parents were teaching me to like, hey, acknowledge your privilege, acknowledge that you have advantages in life that other people just don't because of how you were born and the world you were born into. You know, my life isn't perfect. I've had my fair share of struggles, but at the end of the day, when I'm talking to a person of color, I'm not going to center my own struggles because what's the fuck is the point of that? You have systemic problems.
Exactly.
Right? You know, I can bitch about my life all I want. I didn't even ask. Am I good to swear?
Yes.
Okay.
I should have told you that I cuss a fucking lot.
Okay, cool.
So yes, go, by all means, go in.
Yeah, I could bitch about my life all I want, but at the end of the day, like, I don't have certain systemic issues weighing down on me. So there's really no point in me bringing that up when I'm talking to people of color. You know, something that I've been kind of dealing with in like being part of politics and running for office and wanting to be an advocate for those who necessarily don't have the privilege to be involved in politics is like, is that coming from a place of like white guilt?
Right.
Honestly, kind of, sort of. But I think that me acknowledging that is part of the work I have to do to like improve. You know what I mean? I'm no perfect person, but I'm trying to be a better ally.
Appreciate that honesty, and B, we need more people like you, because if someone is not doing that, they're not understanding the society that we fucking live in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to start there. And I'll give it to you, like, seriously, acknowledging traits of white guilt, because and I'll go a step further. The fact that we live in America and we live in a colonized fucking society, we all have prejudices, and we all need to be acknowledging that. But I think it needs to start from where it came from. And I think that the duty falls on people that understand their privilege, to not only understand their privilege, but check the people that don't understand their privilege, that have it. You know what I'm saying?
And we can definitely talk more about that. But to get back on like the topic of like the food desert thing.
Yes.
So again, like walking to get our groceries, both you and I, that's something we share. But from your side, that is something that's a bit more of an inconvenience. It can be a bit more of a struggle. Whereas from my side, like, it's a point of pride. It's a privilege for me that I can walk 5 minutes to Seatown and pick up fresh produce, and I can pick up what I need and I can bring it home. You know, not everyone has that that option. And even the folks that like do, maybe they do, a lot of them, if they have a car, they're gonna drive to get their groceries anyways out of convenience.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, even you would like, I'm tired of C-Town. I need to go to Walmart. I need to go to this place or that place. You could call somebody up. You probably have more access to friends and caring people that are able to do that. Even if you didn't have a car, didn't have the money, this, that, and the third, where there's other people who don't have any of that. And I think those are the people that we're thinking of. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because like you were saying, like, you can walk to the bodega and you can get food, but if you want access to like organic, healthy produce, if you want access to like the food that really nourishes your body, that's a bit more of a struggle. And so I think it's really important that, like, we were talking a little bit about your work at Lancaster Pharmacy, and it's really important that you're doing that because...
Shout out to Lancaster Pharmacy.
Yeah. Because I don't think people realize how important, like, the food you're eating and the work that goes into it is until you start practicing that.
Facts. Such facts. So let's get into that real quick, too, because... it's important that as many of us are jumping on the bandwagon, if you will, and I hate using that word, of not only sustainable living, but eco-friendly things, organic foods, but really making sure that you're eating things that are actually nourishing you so that you can nourish your mind. And if you're growing your own things, or you're in touch with people that are growing things and they're handing these things off to you and explaining what these things are and what they mean and where they come from, you're getting nourished in so many more ways than you could ever understand. But if you're able to work the little bit of land that you have, or a community garden, if you will, it actually is therapeutic. And for people who know anything about grounding, just literally taking your feet and putting them in on the ground, it does something to you. It lowers your blood pressure, it relieves stress, it literally lowers inflammation. Like, it does all these great things, and just imagine what it would do for your hands as well.
Yeah, and like,
I went off on a whole tangent.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like, for example, like, when you look at our legislation in America surrounding what we allow in our foods versus like the European Union, like, we allow a lot more preservatives and dyes and whatnot that probably aren't beneficial to our health. And we can kind of see that in like the lack of real nourishment for people. They might eat, but they don't actually get nutrition. We can also see that in the way that, you know, it's cheaper and easier to get McDonald's than it is fresh produce in this country. So when you get McDonald's, you know, you're making an economic decision, but that's having health effects.
Yes.
Not that I don't love me some fast food, some greasy food here and there, but when you have a little kid or a family where that's what they're eating 5 times a week because it's just cheap, quick, and easy because your parents are stressed because they're working and
or they don't have access to it.
Exactly.
Briosa says, I walk with a child in a stroller and a 7-year-old and have to use a cart to carry as many groceries at once, and walking in the street because these sidewalks are not safe to walk on for us who have strollers or bad knees. The earth is a life force. I feel you on all of that, because two different things. So the first comment was actually in regards to what it's like for people who don't have access to proper transportation. And then the comment about the sidewalks actually is a really good one too, because when I'm walking to Manor Shopping Center, right, that's my closest grocery store. There's sidewalks on some blocks, and then other blocks there's not sidewalks, so there's nothing. And it's funky, but I can imagine what it's like for other people, especially people that have kids. This person has a kid, a 7-year-old, and a baby in a stroller. Do you know what I'm saying? And as far as the comment about the earth as a life force, I see when we're working the earth, you're working the land, you're growing something, you're using your hands, you're tapping into that life force, and you can't help but feel a little calmer about it. But you're also feeding into the earth what you're going to get in return when you harvest those peppers or those cucumbers or the tomatoes or whatever it is that you're growing. There's a whole lot of education behind that our communities lack.
Yeah, and not not just from like the holistic and more like spiritual and mental health approach, but also just the literal energy. Our entire society, every interaction, it's all about energy from a holistic standpoint and just from a scientific standpoint. And so, like,
talk about it.
You know, what, again, like we've been saying, what you eat really does nourish your body in different ways, and when your body's fully nourished, your mind can be nourished. It's more easily you can more easily process things, whether it be life struggles, whether it be new information that you need to process because you're going to apply it in X, Y, and Z. You know, I don't want to sound hippy dippy, but like, yeah, this stuff matters. Like what you eat matters. How you interface. It
really does.
How you interface with the world matters so much.
Speaking of, there was a segue I wanted to get in there as far as affecting your mind, and you're able to focus more and be more aware, right? You're able to organize more. You're able to be more aware of what's going on around you in the society that you're there in. Specifically speaking of here in Lancaster, there's a lot of people that I feel diet-wise are pushed into not being able to think clearly, and this goes with any other impoverished community that's redlined, that's in a food desert, that is poor. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But a high sugar and salt diet is going to lead you to not thinking rationally, or lead you to be stuck in a certain, and when you're pushed to this, that, and the third, you're just trying to survive, you can't really think straight. Okay, so there's a lot of issues going on around here that people don't have the luxury of being able to tend to, because of the issue that we already discussed. So, like, what are the issues to you that you think are the most dire, that you think could be tackled easily?
Well, I think the sad reality is that the things that are most dire can't be tackled easily, in the sense that it does take time, it does take concerted effort, it does take community organizing. But I think that, like, for me as a young person, I am deathly afraid of what the future looks like. Let me tell you, because, like, yes, the climate impact of it all, but I don't think people understand that when we talk about the changing climate, we're going to see problems of crop failure. We're going to see problems of mass immigration. We're going to see, and it's not that we should necessarily be afraid of that. I don't want people to be afraid of that.
We need to take it serious.
And we need to be prepared, because if you're prepared, you don't need to be scared.
Yesterday, I literally just did a block drop, a headline of COP22 UN report that the amount of emissions and things and levels we're supposed to agree to, it's not going to do shit anyway.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at, is like, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of like doom and gloom, but like at this point, what we as a society and a community need to do, in my opinion, is we need to stop talking about stopping climate change. Climate change is already happening. We need to be talking about what we're going to do to prepare for the effects of climate change. And honestly, from my perspective, to prepare for it, we need a more connected and organized community. We need a community that people are walking to get their groceries, and if you can't walk to get your groceries, your neighbor's going to go for you, because you're going to look out for your neighbor. Maybe you can't walk to get your groceries, but when they come back, you're going to cook a nice meal for the neighborhood. You guys are about to work together, and you're going to do X, Y, and Z. And so, like,
see, I see that for like the next generation or so, and then after that, I see everyone getting their food from like a couple floors up or down the block at their little local garden and market. You know what I mean? And like people in the neighborhood work there, you know?
Yeah. And I think one of the beautiful things about Lancaster especially is, like, again, like, not only am I privileged because I'm white, but like straight up, no cap, I'm privileged because I was born here in Lancaster City, in Lancaster County. We have the most protected farmland in this country.
That is true.
So that farmland is being worked by small farmers. And I'm telling you
Talk
what,
about it.
if things really get tough, those are the kinds of people that are going to change what they're doing to make sure they can provide for the wider community in the area.
That is true.
You know, we have a certain safety net in that regard.
We do.
It's
just not evenly distributed, and that's where we need to work on.
Yes, sir. Because as we're saying all this, I can tell you, I went to school with kids where the only meal they ate was at school lunch. We're talking in the richest country in the history of the world, the only meal those kids are eating was school lunch. That tears me up. Because how can you expect those kids to be focused on getting an education? Because they probably got other issues going on at home. And when they come to school, that's supposed to be where they're just supposed to focus on them and building themselves up. But they're probably worried, not even worried, they're just not focused because they're hungry. They're waiting for that lunch bell. Yeah. And I totally feel it.
That has been me. I can definitely relate to that. So it sucks that it took like the pandemic for people to really wake up to that one thing alone, right? But optimistically speaking, I'm glad that it's happened and we are having these conversations. But how do we get it from conversations to like action? Like how, because there are people organizing, there's organizations and whatnot, but like locally, I don't know what you know about art. So do you know about Extra Give?
Yes, a little bit. I've been following some of the discourse, especially amongst like the real concerned people in the area, because Extra Give is problematic.
You hear the suspenseful music? It's perfect for the conversation.
Because from what I've been hearing, and I haven't been looking into it myself, but is it J. Eric Fisher?
Yes.
J. Eric Fisher is posting every day about it. I appreciate that so much because the Extra Give is problematic.
Yes.
We need to talk about it.
Yes.
So I didn't know what you were about to go into with that, but yeah, I kind of follow what's been talked about.
Well, it's indicative of a bigger thing, and I want to pair that with the housing market and investors coming in and buying up all the properties. So then, like, people who can actually afford a home can't even buy a fucking home. Not even here in fucking Lancaster, which is ridiculous. Like, shit's going $300 and some thousand. Are you fucking kidding me? Almost $400,000 for a home in Lancaster that is barely touched up.
Yep.
Come on. And then what was the first one?
We're talking about the Extra Give being problematic.
There we go. Sorry. Look. Yep, that's me. All right. So, so Extra Give, I kind of see it the same way. It's major organizations, corporations. The way I see it, it's just capitalism trying to extract more money out of the same people that they're already oppressing. They're using that money to oppress them fucking further, and it's frustrating as fuck to me personally, because I see so many people just pouring into it. La-di-do, oh yeah, give to Extra Give. But why? I don't know, give to Extra Give. But why? I don't know, give to Extra... Look, bitch. I don't want to fucking give to something that I don't understand, and the bit that I am hearing is not great, especially when it's directly harming my particular community. You know what I mean? Like, that makes me feel some kind of way. But then I also feel like it's not doing anything for Black and brown people either. So that's another bone that I have to pick. That was the one I had to pick last year when I first heard of it. So I didn't know anything about it prior to that.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll just be 100% with you. Like, so I was pretty involved in the local music scene. Like, outside of politics, music is my passion. Music is like what feeds my soul.
Okay. I feel you on that.
And so the band that I was playing with, my band of like all my best friends from high school, we actually played an event for the Extra Give in the past. I didn't know what the Extra Give was. I just knew that there was this thing that was going on in the city that it seemed like, you know, middle class folk in the city were all about, because
that's how they get you.
Exactly. You know, there's nice middle class folk that I know because I went to school with their kids and X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
And they asked my band if we want to play and get paid, and of course we were like,
of course we want to play and get paid.
But now, like when you're talking about the issues with extra give, when J. Eric Fisher's talking about the issues with extra give, when other folks in the community are talking about it, I can't just ignore that.
Right.
Because like you said, those are things that are actively harming the LGBTQ community. And like you said, it's probably not directly benefiting communities of color anyways. It's a white people thing.
But also people follow the money. And where money goes, people's big woony eyes follow sometimes. And I think a lot of people are shutting the fuck up because their money's involved for them somehow.
Yeah.
And that's also where I wanted to get to, is like corruption. Do you know what I mean? Because it has something to do with that. That's another aspect of why I think like some people are just silencing it out. It has to be that there's some kind of corruption, and that's like a foggy, untangible answer that you can give, but it's just like a topic. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. When it comes to corruption, I want to be really careful, because I think that the corruption, any sort of like corruption that we see on a local level, is very different from what's happening in our federal government and state government per se, and communities, because you can look at it and be like, okay, well, no shit, Joe Manchin's going to kill all of the green infrastructure in the new bill because he's making millions of dollars every year from coal. No shit. On a local level, it's not like our politicians or the people that are like the main interface representatives of the general community are necessarily like getting direct payments from places, but they socialize with those people, and that soft corruption slowly can start to seep in and just change their views and change their opinions.
So speaking of so soft corruption, what do you feel about coonery? What do you feel about and I'm going to say this because this is how like I'm viewing it, what do you feel about us having a black chief of police?
So I mean, we can get into a really big conversation about policing in this country, and criminal justice. You know, taking John Bay's identity out of it, just speaking on his views. I don't really know them that well, but I'm sure that they're much better than our last chief of police. That's why his ass got fired. Right. So I'm sure there's improvement being made. And to a certain extent, I'm sure that there is a part of like the city government, city community that's like, well, you know, policing is a racially charged problem, and so if we give a black police chief, like, it's just gonna make it look like we're really listening. There's some more representation. Yeah, there are bigger problems, but again, if you take away his identity, I do still believe it's a better choice than what we had. Not saying that it's perfect, but I don't really know John Bay at all, so I don't want to comment on him.
I like that. That was well said. That was well said, because I set you up there. Seriously, because it's not something you can speak on necessarily being the identity that you hold. And I don't necessarily think that is anything that any of us can speak on with any concrete thing until we see something happen to go down that really shows his chops. But I will say, for me as a black guy, it is something to be a little skeptical of.
Yeah. I mean, dude, like, not to cut you off, but like last summer when all these protests were going on, and I was trying to be the good ally, I was there like every day for like 2 weeks straight. Even on days where I had work, I would come before work or after work because there was something going on in the community, and we're trying to talk about it, right? Yeah. But like when the police ride in the back of a pickup truck with the main organizers and they're doing the fist, and I'm just like, bro, I'm sorry, I'm sure they're well-meaning. That's propaganda. Yep. That's propaganda. I don't know what else to say.
Talk about it.
You know, what I will say is I feel like when I talk about the police, and it's easy for me to say this as a white guy, but I almost feel bad for the police in the sense that as on an individual level, it's not up to them. They're just a cog in the system. It's a systemic problem. The problem, like we always say, there are no good cops. There are and I know some of them personally, there are good people who are cops. There are no good cops.
Nice, because I was going to correct you if you didn't say it. There are good people that are well-intentioned when they choose that job, but they're not good employees.
You can't
the
be a good
job that they hold. Yes,
yeah, you can't be a good cop.
Is correct. What was I gonna say? But you're fucking right. Oh, segue though to police and police accountability in general, and here in Lancaster in general, because there's still stuff that goes on. There's still stuff that goes down, whether they want to talk about it or not. It does. I know that's right. Yes. F12, ACAB. It's a job they could quit. Now that brings up a really good point, because a lot of police officers are they think that their own intentions, they think that they can change it. Like one person can change things, but they really if they wanted to change something, they would be standing up all together and quitting in mass to start over.
Right. Yeah, because I don't want to be too hyperbolic. Okay, I am making a metaphor. I'm not speaking literally, but that's like being like, well, I'm gonna become a Nazi to try to change it from within. That's right. Bullshit, bro. Right. I'm sorry, that's bullshit.
That's a nice analogy.
I
like it.
And so like we were talking about this at the city council debate last night. When it comes to policing, the main thing that I said is you want to talk about policing, you want to talk about criminalizing the poor. I know that our local government doesn't necessarily have the influence over this that we would like to see, but we need to talk about mass incarceration. Yes. We need to talk about
it.
How our justice system, which is not just, is going and tearing apart communities for profit. There are people making money off of keeping people in prison, most of those people being people of color.
Yes.
For non-violent things. Again, not that our local government can necessarily do anything about it, but if we got people in our local government talking about it,
right,
we might start to see some organizing. We might start to see some changes. We can push to end cash bail. We can push to decriminalize drugs, just like Lancaster decriminalized marijuana many years ago.
Yep.
When people were saying while we were decriminalizing it that it wasn't within our power, but you know what? We fucking did it.
Yep.
Right. There are things that we don't think are within our power, but if there's enough push, we can do it.
So true. People don't think enough about that. If we're not saying anything and we're not pushing the people that's supposed to be, that we're supposed to employ, technically, nothing's gonna happen. We need to be reminded of that. We're too busy being distracted, but if we were not distracted by these things, we certainly, I think, will be doing a lot more. Look at last year.
And just on that whole movement in general, I can tell you, as a white guy, I was showing up and I did not want to center myself because it was not about me. The issue of policing is something that, quite honestly, not that I necessarily directly benefit from it, but I benefit from the fact I'm white. I'm not being attacked by the police in the same way. But we had hundreds of people in the streets downtown. On the first couple of days, we had over 1,000 people in the streets downtown. But what's really changed?
Right.
I did the thing, guys. I was there, and then when election season came around, you know what? I voted for Joe Biden and the Democrats and company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, deliver. What's really changed? The police federally have gotten more funding.
Boom.
Okay, we haven't seen that same sort of funding for our social services.
Boom.
Which is, you already know where I'm going with that.
Yes.
So on a local level, the things I'd like to see with police is, and again, I don't know if this is currently within our power, but we can organize and change things and make it within our power. I would like to see a real community oversight board that talks about the budgeting, the hiring, the firing, the promotion.
I got wind of that happening, and then I didn't hear anything else about it.
So I don't know if there are conversations going on. The mayor had started a community police working group. And I think that was before even the protest. I will give the mayor some credit on that one. I believe that was before all the protests last summer. But at the end of the day, Okay, so what? You're gonna have all these well-meaning, mostly white people. I looked at the pictures. You're gonna have all these well-meaning, mostly white people from the community say, "Well, we need a better relationship with the police."
Of course, because it's Deneen. By the way, for people who are not local, Deneen Sirachi is the mayor, the current mayor, who is up for a re-election with some competition this year, actually. But go ahead.
So I would like to see a real community oversight board that has actual power when it comes to the budgeting, the hiring, the firing, the promotion, that sort of thing in regards to the police. I would like to see a more transparent process for how people file complaints and how the community can view those complaints.
You're right, because that one's a doozy.
Yeah, because there's so much pressure. If I go, I mean, obviously, again, I'm a white guy, but let's imagine I'm not. If I go to the police station and I want to file a complaint, a cop's going to come talk to me and they're going to be like, well, tell me what happened. What's going on? They're going to be like, you don't need to file a complaint about that, yada, yada, yada. You can't really say that. Do you have any proof, X, Y, and Z? And it's like, they're obviously have an interest in making sure you don't file a complaint.
Yeah.
And even when you do, at least under the previous police chief, nothing happened anyways. Maybe that'll be different. I will say, like, I haven't seen it yet.
Optimism is good.
I haven't seen it yet, but I will say that city councilors have made the comment that Chief John Bay is holding the police individually more accountable.
Me personally, and this is not to say you, me personally, I wouldn't worry about city councilors, but I will say that it is good to be optimistic and smart. We have to hope for the best and want the best for our future, but it comes with action as well. And if we're not doing both, if we don't have that vision and keep that vision and hope alive, and that means being positive even when shit is hitting the fucking fan and it's smacking you in the face, but you have to keep moving forward. And with that being said, going back, I don't go off of everything they say, and this is why, like, I had purposely ran when I ran, because I felt like there needed to be some other kind of perspective and voice up in there. And so sometimes you need the antithesis. Sometimes first of all, there needs to be yin and yang, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And there's not up in that bitch. It would be nice to see some yang to the yin.
Right.
Or the yin to the yang, because they the yang.
Yeah, and I do want to applaud you for running, because I can tell you, as someone who is running themselves, that's a lot of fucking pressure.
Yes.
People have their eyes on you.
Yes.
People want to ask you questions.
Yes.
They want you to talk your shit. Yes. And when you say something wrong, they're going to call you out on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. They're going to sit there and they're going to try to say, well, you're unqualified. You don't know how X, Y, and Z works, yada, yada, yada. So I applaud you for that, for real.
It's a lot. It is a lot. And I applaud you, by the way, as well. How old are you?
21.
You are 21.
Yeah.
You are
20,
now able
22
to
in
drink.
November. Come on.
Oh my God, you've barely been drinking for a year.
Yeah.
Thanks. Good job, America. But you're smart enough to know that you're ripe enough and strong enough, mentally, physically, emotionally capable of affecting change, and you seem to have really great ideas. So, like, for me, it's inspiring enough to know that, like, somebody else is still, like, that was always my hope, is like, okay, well, I'm not the only one here. That's the part that made me feel a little bit better, that, like, I wasn't the only one, like, trying to do something. I guess that's why I equate you so much to your brother Tony.
Yeah, well, and shout out to my brother Tony, because he's been there where he's been trying to inform the community and make some change, and he felt like he was alone, and that's why he got burnt out.
I felt like I was alone too.
Yeah. And
I was on my own, and I was alone.
And the thing that I've been trying to keep in mind is that I do have a support network. I have great friends. My partner is fantastic and has supported me the entire time. I work closely with my brother. My family, who I politically disagree with some of them, have come out and supported me. People that I don't even know, I come knock on their door and they already know my name. That just emboldens me.
Right?
Right? But then when I'm out there hustling, I do feel alone because no one's out there hustling with me.
And no one feels the exact way that you're feeling, and it's all the pressure on you. It's like, why can't no one fucking relate? Like, it's unique. It's unique to you.
And so the thing that, win or lose, the thing that I want to see happen is I want people to realize, like, you can do this. If I lose, I want to get a sizable amount of votes so I can say, listen, I did that by doing almost all of that work. Again, I have a great support network, and I have been getting help and donations and shit, but I've done the bulk of that on my own. Yo, if someone else wants to run on these same sort of ideas, I will go out there and hustle for them because we need to do something. Like, me and my brother are starting a local third party. That's where this all kind of sprang from, right? And when we were talking about people,
hold on 1 second. Somebody has a question for you.
Hell yeah.
How do you feel about the issue of affordable housing since the elected officials have been lying to everyone? And then we'll get on your the golden goose, right?
Yeah. So I'm a little more interested to hear about how elected officials are lying. But generally, in terms of affordable housing, obviously, I understand the need for it. What's interesting to me is when I go out and I knock on people's doors, it's not just the folks that are struggling that are talking about affordable housing. There are privileged people in our community that are very concerned because they see what's going on. Again, they're privileged people, so it's not directly.
They don't quite understand.
Exactly.
But it's on their mind.
Exactly. Right. What I will say, and again, just going back to like trying to be optimistic, the city is getting $39.5 million from the federal government. City council just on Tuesday voted to put $5 million aside for affordable housing projects in the city. And I will say they added a provision that every single project that sees any of that money will come before the community and have to get voted on individually. So city council can't just shuffle that money around willy-nilly.
So it will be at a city council meeting for us to vote on.
Yes, like at every single project individually as they come along.
Okay.
And you know what? I will applaud them on that because that's something that everyone's been talking about. We need more transparency.
Yes.
Genuinely, the city does have limited power in what it can do around affordable housing simply because building new housing is expensive, especially as we're seeing supply chain shortages. So they can commit a bunch of money to this problem, but they might not get as much housing as they want. In terms of the city land, 88% of the land is already developed, so we have to do a lot of tricky infill development, which I think we should do. But then also on the side of like rents, mortgages, taxes, all that, it is not within the city's legislative powers to say institute rent control. It is not within their powers to have like a real eviction moratorium on the local level. And that's something that I would love to see change. Like, I want to talk about structural change for city government, and that involves going to the state government and fighting with them. But if we want the city to be more whole and have a little bit more control about what's going on, that's something that needs to happen.
I think Lancaster has enough weight to pull to get more, to garner more funding and more things, more resources and things. We're quite on the well to be on par with Philly, with our history, our richness of diversity, culture, everything. We have it all. We really do. And it's time we start acting like it and demanding more of it. Not us as people, because we have been, but our government, the people that we pay, they need to be demanding more of it too. Back to your party, the Golden Goose Party, right?
Yeah, the Gold Goose Party.
Gold Goose.
Yeah. But you can find out more by going to www.goldgoose.party.
So what makes Gold Goose different from other parties?
Well, I think the first thing is that obviously it's outside the two-party system. And in Lancaster politics, I don't even think we live in this illusion of a two-party system like we do on the federal government. It's really a one-party system because it's controlled by the Democratic Party, who if you can't tell by the conversation we're having, yes. Do I agree generally more with the Democrats than Republican? Yes.
Yes.
Do I think that the Democrats as a federal party are shit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Put her there.
So, you know, not only are we outside that two-party system, we are literally forming it as we're speaking right here. That's a big thing for me and my brother, is that there are a few other people involved, but the Gold Goose Party can be whatever the hell we want it to be if people help us and get involved and speak it into existence.
To help define what it is.
Yeah.
It's to right now. So, in other words, like right now, it's the anti-two party. But
with progressive policy in mind.
In my theory, in my head, is that like 48% of the country is anti-two party. They just don't know it yet. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, honestly, I think that it's a larger portion that is anti-two party and they don't know it. There's probably about 50% of the country that knows they're anti-two party.
I'll give it to you. I agree. Seriously. And I think the way to helping define that is to ask the real questions. What the fuck do you want?
Yeah. And so that goes into something else. Like, again, city government is limited, and that's something that I think people need to understand. So we can talk about how we change that to get more legislative power. But we should still, as a city government, be talking about the systemic issues revolving around the criminal justice system, revolving around juvenile justice, revolving around economic inequality, revolving around the inequality in the housing market. Yeah, maybe we as a government can't change anything, but speaking about it, raising awareness,
speaking it into existence.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, we're seeing it right now with these workers going on strike.
Talk about it.
We're seeing seeing it right now. When people stand together and they demand more, if they hold on strong, they will get it.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about begging. I'm not talking about asking. I'm talking about demanding.
Took the words out of my mouth. Yep.
If there's anything that I've been learning, it's the difference between asking, begging, and demanding, because they are all important.
Yes,
but they're different.
They have different outcomes and they have different effects. And it's a lesson that I'm teaching myself now, actually, because I'm learning to speak up for myself and stand up for myself, and like not necessarily worry so much that I'm being rude or how someone's gonna take it. They take how the fuck they take it, but it's coming out and it's truthful, and I know that I mean what the fuck I say. I'm leaving it at that. And if I need to demand something or just be very stern about what I'm talking about, whatever the case may be, I need to live in that truth. And living in that truth is also speaking it into existence, and it's going to manifest as long as you keep speaking it. A lot of people, you saw what happened from last year to this year. A lot of people wanted that. They wanted to speak that into existence, but did they?
And that's what frustrates me, is that on something like social media, on Instagram, everybody's talking about police brutality, everybody's talking about George Floyd, everybody's talking about, but a year later, I'm not seeing that energy. I'm sorry. There are still folks who are talking about it and who are committed, but
it's not the same.
Exactly. And I get it. Like, it might not be, attractive to your quote unquote viewers that like you're talking so vehemently about politics, but like if that mattered to you then, it should matter even more now because nothing's changed.
Also, I think people get the wrong idea of what politics is. And it's things that really actually fucking matter. And people talk about things that matter to them all the time when they're griping day in and day out. But when it comes to having the opportunity to speak about those things that they gripe about every day, they don't. When the opportunity is there for them, it's there for all of us. Part of why I will big you up again and commend you for taking the opportunity to do this, because it takes a lot of guts to do this. Not everyone will do it, and everyone has to. the least you could do is get up and say, I'm not taking this too. I'm not a fucking Democrat. I'm not a fucking Republican. I'm done with this shit. And I want better for this country. I want better for myself. I want better for my children. I'm demanding, that's the key word tonight, demanding something else.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, politics in general, like, this is a big conversation I've been having with myself, is participating in politics is either an act of privilege or it's an act of self-preservation.
Ooh.
The reason the reason that we have historically seen the black community organize and stand up and participate in politics wasn't because they were trying to get the new park. It wasn't because they were trying to. It's because it was life or death, and it still is. It still is life or death.
Yes.
You know, but for me, like I said, I'm privileged. I honestly could forget about all this bullshit and work my normal 40 hours a week, hang out with my friends, play in my band, pet my cat, hang out with my partner, and I would be a-okay in the grand scheme of things. But personally, I'm not fucking okay with that.
Right.
Because I see what's going on.
Right.
I see what's going on, and I want to speak about the issues that are directly affecting everyone. And what I think people need to understand, especially people that look like me, is that when you're putting forward ideas that are going to promote people of color, that promotes all of us. You're just centering them because they're the disadvantaged ones in this society.
Thank you. I like the way that you put that too.
It's not like I'm getting rid of it's not like I'm giving you my privilege. I'm making a more just system for everyone, and that benefits me too.
Right, because it's not about giving. No one should have the fucking privilege over anybody else, first of all. So there's no, you need to have the baton now and have the privilege. No. How about we throw the fucking privilege in the garbage and we all start from scratch? But until then, I'm going to do this because I have this, and we're going to try and do what we can to even this out right now. But I think the goal is to, like, have everybody feeling and thinking the same way, in a sense, you know?
Yeah. And to go back to it, like, again, so I'm having this problem about, like, Joey, you're a fucking privileged white guy, and yet you're out here talking about issues for people of color. You're talking about equity for people of color. You're talking about X, Y, and Z. Like, don't you feel like maybe, you know, as a white dude, you shouldn't be the one talking about it? And I'll tell you what, here's what I'll say. Yeah, because at the end of the day, I'm going to do whatever I can within my power to benefit communities of color. But if they want their issues centered, yeah, it's probably for the best that one person from their community stands up instead of me to do it. And when me and my brother were putting the party together, before I even was thinking about running, we were reaching out to a lot of people, some of them being people of color, who had expressed some interest to either one of us about running for politics. And ultimately, they all said they either couldn't do it, or they weren't ready, or X, Y, and Z. And so that's why I finally decided to say, fuck it. Okay, I'll do it. Fuck it. And you know what? Like I just told you, at the end of the day, if next election cycle, someone else wants to stand up and do it, and they're running on the same sort of shit, I don't need to be the face of this shit, bro. I just want to see the change. Right. I just want to help make it happen. This is not about me.
Preferably, yeah, I would like for it to be a person of color talking about first people of color issues. But if no one is, I don't care who the fuck it is, as long as someone is doing it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to get hung up on something that is not real and something that was created by people that are still controlling our society and that we're trying to dismantle to begin with and eradicate to begin with. So yes, preferably we would like a certain thing, but ultimately it's about the soul and the intention with it. The intention that you have to really make a difference. And that is what I see from you. That is what I hear from you. Honestly, I can't be more happy and more proud. Who are the other the other runners in this joint?
Okay. So there's a total of 8 candidates for city council, and there are four seats open. So statistically speaking, without any variables at play, I got a 50% chance, which is pretty nice.
That's pretty good.
A coin toss is pretty nice. The other candidates. So we got 3 incumbents who are Democrats that are running for re-election. It's Izzy Smith-Waddell, Faith Craig, and Janet Diaz. And then the other Democrat, and I apologize because I know I'm gonna mispronounce his name. The first time I heard it pronounced was last night, and I didn't pay attention. But it's Lockhart.
Locker, yeah, he's cool. I don't know. I can never pronounce his last name either, so I'll just say his first name.
Okay, Lockhart.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
And amongst the Democrats, Lockhart, Faith Craig, and Izzy Smith-Waddell were the ones that got endorsed, which no one's talking about it, but like I think that's a little interesting piece of drama in our local politics. Is like, so Janet Diaz, who has a lot of community support, like her politics aside, who has a lot of community support from people of color, why doesn't she get endorsed by her own party? What's up with that? Can we talk about it? That's not necessarily my place. I'm not part of their party, but I'm interested the reasoning behind that. And then on the Republican side, it is Dina Mauis. God dang.
Hold up, there's how many Republicans?
3 Republicans.
What?
Yeah. So it's Dina, Elizabeth, and this guy, Ethan, who apparently I heard through the grapevine, can't confirm this, dude doesn't even live in the city anymore. So in my opinion, why the fuck is he still on the ballot?
Right.
But whatever.
Right.
Whatever. He's, Republicans are
iffy.
Honestly,
questionable.
In terms of their chances, well, yeah. But in terms of their chances, like, Republicans might be worse off than me. And
I am inclined to agree.
Yeah, and what I'll say is, like,
Lancaster City politics.
Yeah, Lancaster City politics. Because outside the city, this is a red country.
Right. There we go.
But, and I don't want to comment too much on them because honestly, amongst all those candidates, even the ones that I do know a little bit more about their politics, I don't want to misspeak or speak for them. What I will say is, because I've spoken with all of them at some point or another, other than Lockhart and the Ethan guy, the Republican that doesn't even live in the city apparently. They're well-meaning people. They do care.
Yeah.
Even the Republicans, they're
completely
tied.
Agree.
They're tied to a national party that, honestly, is pretty shit. But those are people in the community that do care. One of them is a social worker. They're doing certain work.
Like, okay, so our media takes a mirror and breaks it into shards and feeds different pockets of demographics, different mirrors of this images of the same mirror, right? So that has an effect on the different candidates that are in this running. So you're agreeing with this, like, we can't fault them for thinking the way that they've been fed their whole life. The only thing we can do is, like, for me personally, it's about stressing. I always have a tendency to want to meet people halfway, and I personally feel like I can't do that anymore. Like, I have to continue to present my full ideology and what I've been fed my whole life, or else I'm not living my full life just like someone else is doing for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like, again, I think they're very well-meaning people, but ultimately, I think there's a certain narrative, like you were talking about a yin and a yang.
Yeah.
I think people automatically, because we've been conditioned this way, they want to go, well, the opposite of Democrat is Republican, so are you saying we need to vote Republican? No. In this case, if you want to, obviously I'm a little biased, but if you want to see community change and you want something that's a bit different than Democrats, we should be talking about Democrats and the Gold Goose.
Talk about it.
Like, politics, like, is a bit of a give and take game. Politics is a game, and that's why it's a privilege to play. Politics is a game. But what frustrates me is, like, obviously you can tell I'm a bit more progressive than the
What do you
Democratic.
say to the people? Because you got me stuck on that, because I hear people have a response to that all the time and they hate it. Like, what do you say to the people that say, I don't want to play that fucking game?
Don't. Honestly, you want my real opinion?
Yeah.
Electoral politics has its purpose. It's an institution that exists that
Yes,
I
it
believe
does.
we should participate in to hold some power over it. But ultimately, if we're going to see change, we need community organization. Because just politics in general, electoral politics is more about show than anything else. And what I was about to say is, like, you can tell, like, I'm to the quote unquote left of the Democrats. Okay. I don't fuck with Joe Biden, Crime Bill Joe. But you know what? Everyone was telling me, Joey, it would be politically irresponsible of you not to vote for anyone but Joe Biden. So I fucking voted for Joe Biden.
I did too.
Okay, I swallowed my pride real quick.
I did too.
Okay, Joe.
I waited till the last fucking moment, but I voted for Biden.
Yep. And you know what? Joe, you got in there. Fucking deliver, bro.
Yeah.
You don't need... Yes, you can get more done with the Senate and the House, but you can sign executive orders right now to get shit done. Stop making excuses.
But all the executive orders that he signed for show at the beginning in the first month.
Right.
Was it the 100 and the 90-day bullshit or whatever? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Drawing a blank.
People that say they don't want to play this game of politics is like, for the most part, if you don't want to play, obviously, I want you. Again, it's an institution that exists. This is the system we live under. I do believe that you should vote. I do believe in those things. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to play that specific part of the game, but you do want to see change, start a community group, start volunteering, start talking to your neighbors, you don't have to vote, but you can still show up to city council.
Yep.
Okay, because I'll tell you what is...
Get involved, period.
One thing that me and my older brother talk about a lot is we want to see more transparency in our government.
Yeah.
More outreach, more public engagement. But I also understand why the city, to a certain extent, doesn't do it. It's because when they try, nobody shows the fuck up. Or people that do, it's always the same crowd. It's always the same crowd. No, we need new people. We need people that... And again, it's a privilege. That's why if I'm elected to city council, or if I'm not, because I'm going to keep showing up, I want to make sure that every public city government meeting is virtually accessible. And that when I say virtually accessible, I don't mean you can just watch it. I mean you can give your public comment and it's just as valid as anyone else's. Because
I wish, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I wish that there, like, it was some, like, and I hate to say this, but like, there's all kinds of other things. Amber alerts are more invasive than our city government. So why can't we have fucking text messages massively sent to people sometimes? Even for the simplest of things, someone is going to randomly answer. But also in tandem with that, like, we could have more like I've seen, for show PR stunts of people going around community engagement committees where they go around and ask people questions and stuff, right? But that's few far in between. I haven't seen it consistent. And if you're doing it going around the city consistently, there's going to be stragglers that come in at random.
Agreed. Something that I would like to see, like, we have a quote unquote office of neighborhood engagement. Really, it's basically just like one person in the mayor's office. Apparently, something just came out that they're getting like 11 vistas. I don't exactly know what that is, but people that are going to help with that.
Okay.
I want to see like a formalized public outreach or public engagement board where people are elected or chosen through council and the mayor, where their entire job is going to people's doors and using social media and X, Y, and Z to make sure people are informed. Because I'm not saying that they should be pushing for any certain candidate or any certain policy, but God damn it, people don't even know when city council meetings are.
I know.
Even if they don't want to show up, that's fine, but at least let them know when the hell they are. That information is quote unquote publicly available, but
you don't see it publicly plastered anywhere.
Exactly.
But you can find out how to get a Clipper Stadium.
Yeah.
Why is that?
And what I will say is, like, I think that city government, they get annoyed when people show up and speak out.
Yeah, they do.
And I kind of understand it, because when someone's challenging you to do better, yeah, that's tough. That's a tough reality. Yeah, that's a tough reality to come to, especially, and this is not me disparaging the public, but especially when folks, it's not their responsibility to understand the ins and outs of city government and what's within their power, but they're going to come and speak on issues that the city can't necessarily do anything directly about. Right. But it is the city
that they directly experience.
That is truth. But it is the city government's responsibility to acknowledge those people and talk about the things that they can do within their power to make a change.
I think it's also a matter of perspective. Like, so many people get so intimidated, like, oh, I'm not going to that thing. And like, I'm just saying, we got a lot of hood motherfuckers up in this bitch, and they're not the type of people that will go to them shits. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, for me personally, I think the virtual shits is dope, but they need to be put out in mass to places that can see them. Like, why ain't you putting them in clubs and bars?
That's fair.
For real, in the corner, in the cut, somebody's gonna pick up on that shit.
That's fair.
I mean, make them more accessible in ways that you wouldn't think of. That is not going to burn their fucking pockets, and we know that it's not.
Yeah. And I think, like, I don't want to speak for you, but again, as long as it's not pushing any single one agenda, I mean, you tell me. If I get elected to city council and there are community meetings going on and I come and say, hey, Jay, would you mind sharing this on social media? Because I know you have people that follow you and people that look at your shit. Would you mind sharing this to make sure that people show up? Because I really need them to show up to tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, you fucking would. There are plenty of people who would. There's plenty of people who have an audience locally who would.
Yeah.
Okay? The mayor can... I feel confident if the mayor really wanted to, the mayor could get on the news any night of the week. Not saying that that's always the most productive thing, but like, we can do a lot better when it comes to public outreach.
But honestly, you don't have to get on the news every night of the week. You could write a statement. You could have your publicist write something every now and then and get on every now and then. You can do a variation of shit. It doesn't take much to tell someone that you fucking love them. It doesn't take much to tell the city that you care about them. Yep. Boom. It's simple as that. I really think that it's important that we continue to play to manifestation and the importance of one's nurturing their own light. Taking it back full circle, because we're gonna wrap this up. Taking it back full circle, actually, to creating your own garden and being sustainable, self-sustainable. No one's going to do this for us. Like, our city government are babies. We're the parents, and we have to teach them the way. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But we have it in us, and we can definitely do it.
Yeah.
Like, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, like I've been saying, electoral politics is not the end-all be-all for community change. Obviously, I want to invite everyone to show up in the institutions that currently exist. But if you don't want to show up, that's fine. Make your own table. Stop asking for a seat at this table that doesn't want you. Make your own fucking table, okay? Because at the end of the day, like, none of this should be happening without the public being the ones driving the conversation. When we talk about affordable housing and we're talking about the city committing $5 million to it of public money, that's why they need to put in provisions where every single project is going to come before City Hall and they can look at it. I want to go even further. When we talk about big developments downtown, that's why we need community meetings where even if they don't have the legislative quote unquote control, we can have a real fucking serious conversation about it, because I'm tired of the bullshit. Okay, because I understand from the city's perspective, something like the Willow Valley project.
Don't even get me started.
But exactly. But here's the thing, though, is from the city's perspective, it's really good because that's bringing in a lot of new money that the city does need to help deliver things. But their city is not talking.
Destroy so much, though.
Exactly. The city
in the process
is not talking about
it's
that.
not going to be the same city. Once that's done, literally, I'm telling you, because we can see it, we can feel it's not going to be the same city. Period.
And things change all the time, but God damn it, they're not.
That's going to be too much of a change that it's going to knock and tip the scale too far. Because there's other projects in tandem with that come after. There's 2 other big ones that I know of that are going to go through.
And what I was going to say is, like, things are changing all the time, but they're only going to change for the better if you're getting involved.
That's true.
Win or lose, I'm going to keep showing up. I'm tired of this bullshit. I'm going to keep showing up. I am begging people. I'm asking people for their support. I'm begging them to show up so they can demand better from the government.
Right.
That's what this is about.
You got any plugs you want to throw in there? What's the site again? Gold Goose?
Yeah, www.goldgoose.party. That's the website for the party, as well as it has obviously my specific policy information.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Instagram at Dastra Joey. And I mean, I'm on Facebook too, but I don't really use that as much as Instagram. I think that's it. Plug wise.
No doubt. So Joey, it has been an absolute pleasure. Like, I feel like I could talk with you all day about issues. Same with your brother. Like, we did some really awesome stuff, like with vegetables. That's all I'll say. And we just had some really good talks. So like y'all, like I gotta have y'all both on together.
Hell yeah.
That would be really dope. So yes, make sure that was Joey's IG handle. You can follow him on Instagram, and make sure you check out goldgoose.party as well. Y'all, it's been real. It's been a pleasure. Make sure that even if you are not local to Lancaster, you look up Joey Dastra. He is on Facebook as well. Y'all have a great night. Be good.